Welcome, new Huskies, to Mr. John's class, Science, Room 403. This is the first day of your 7th grade class. Welcome. What we do every day is we want to talk about what we're going to do in class today. So in class today, the idea we're going to do is that students are going to be introduced to the class. I'm going to list you 3 important rules. I don't want to sit there and talk about all the class rules and the syllabus today, but I do want to talk about 3 important ones that are probably on the top of your mind. First is, let's talk about cell phones. Then we're going to talk about tardy and late. What does that mean? We're going to talk about my rules for bathrooms. And then we're going to talk about what is a habit. And then I'm going to introduce to you what is science and give you an example. This is me. Welcome to Mr. John's 7th grade science class. I'd like to tell you that we're a crazy, fun science class, but really that's not what science is, and we're going to talk about that later. If you look up here in this section where it says first, last, period, and date, that's how I expect your papers when you write a paper. Is that your first and last name on the front line, your period the next line, and then your date. Let's talk about cell phones. I know cell phones are our best friends. So famous people like Carrie Underwood, which is a singer, my cell phone is my best friend. It's my lifeline to the outside world. Yes, let me write, the cell phone has become the adult's transitional object, replacing the toddler's teddy bear for comfort and sense of belongings. Kenny Chesney, a famous singer, says, my mind is constantly going. For me to completely relax, I got to get rid of my cell phone. Adrian Brody writes, you'd be surprised how difficult it is to relinquish a cell phone. I understand that. Cell phones are part of our life, and it's part of my life as well. But what I expect for your cell phone during my class time is when you come into my class, turn your cell phone off, place it in your backpack. I know you love your cell phone, but you also like your battery, and there's no reason for you to have it on. If your parents need to contact you, they need to contact the office, and the office will get a hold of you. It's very easy for a parent to get in contact with you. If it's really important, tell your parent. If your parent really wants to text you, they shouldn't, but if they really feel like they need to, you can get it during your break time. If I see your cell phone out, if I see it in your pocket, if I see it anywhere besides in your backpack, I will ask you to turn it off and place it in your backpack. If I see you looking at your cell phone, I will take it. This includes if you're looking at the time. Learn to read a clock. You need to have your cell phone put away. My cell phone's put away. Your cell phone needs to be put away. What does late mean? Late means you are not in your seat before the late bell rings. When that late bell rings, I don't care if you're in my class, if you're talking to a friend, if that late bell rings, you're late. And if you're late, this is always my rule, and that is you're going to give me 5-minute detention after school. Let's talk about my restroom rules. Restrooms are to be used before and after class. These are things that you should be working on and being responsible. Restrooms are to be used before and after class. If you need to go to the restroom and you really have an emergency, then you can go to the restroom, but it'll absolutely cost you 5-minute detention after school. The reason for this is for several reasons. One is for you to have a good habit. You need to go to the restroom before class, after class. We have plenty of time. We have first period, second period, which is a long period, so I'd always recommend going to the restroom before second period. After second period, you have a 10-minute break. Then you have third period, fourth period. Then you have lunch. You have a long lunch. Make sure you go to the restroom during that time. And then you have fifth and sixth period, and you go home. There's plenty of time to go to the restroom outside of class. When you go to the restroom during class, it opens you up to seeing other kids that are outside in the hallways. I am still responsible for you when you're in the hallway, when you're outside. So it's very difficult for me to allow you to go out. Habits. Let's talk about habit. What is a habit? You need to really think about what is a habit. Let's start out every day you have a habit of waking up. Now, there's different ways people wake up. Some people wake up and they're very happy and it's time to wake up. And sometimes people wake up and they're not happy. But it's always this habit. We wake up, we don't think about it. It's what the habit that we've allowed ourselves to do. We get up, we get ready. Whatever it is that you get ready with. Brush your teeth, go to the restroom, eat some breakfast. But you have a consistent habit. Nobody sits there and thinks about it. There's a habit. And then, of course, you go to school. Now, sometimes people have the bad habits as well, and they don't want to wake up, and they just want to be lazy, and they end up sleeping in classroom. So what is a habit? A habit is something you do without thinking. A habit is something you do without thinking. And things like cell phones, things like going to the restroom or being late, these are habits. And my job is to make sure that you create good habits or better habits. We've talked about a lot of stuff now as far as the rules, but I want to talk about what is science. What do you think science is? And science isn't all this fancy, oh, we're going to go off and make explosions. That is not what really science is. What science is the pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural social world following a systematic methodology based on evidence. Scientific methodology includes the following: evidence, experiment, or observation as benchmarks for testing hypotheses. What does that really mean? Well, first of all, let's talk about the first part of this paragraph. Science is a pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural social world. All we're doing is looking at things and we're trying to find out what about something we're looking at, something we observed, something that we've seen. Why did that happen? And then we go through this systematic methodology based on evidence. We go through a series of steps to try to figure out what happened. And how we do that is we do it by looking at the evidence, experiment, or observation as benchmarks for testing hypotheses. So we have a question. We go through a system of methods to try to figure out how that's going to, how that works. And we do that based on experiments. And we write up something based on the evidence. We don't make stuff up. It's based on the evidence. So the first thing I say about what is science is, first of all, it's questions. You have to have a question. Who, what, when, where, why, how. How did this tree grow like that? How does that tree grow in that hard rock surface and the roots are actually exposed and the tree looks like it's walking? This is an actual tree that's in Bryce Canyon, which is in southern Utah. And then we go through and we try to answer the questions. So the first thing we do is we have a prediction. We need to figure out a prediction. Now the cool thing about a prediction, as it says, a prediction does not matter if you're correct or not. That's the fun part about science. You make a prediction, you can be absolutely wrong or you're going to be absolutely correct. But you need to walk through these steps and you make a prediction first. And then we have to do an experiment. When you do an experiment, first of all, you have to be able to design the experiment. So if I want to really prove myself right, I need to make sure I design my experiment in a way that is going to prove my prediction to be correct. For instance, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan, and so I'll always tell you the Dallas Cowboys are one of the greatest teams in the NFL. Now, I could tell you that, well, why do I know they're the best team in the NFL? It's because they're going to win the Super Bowl. Well, they haven't won the Super Bowl in a long time, so the chances of them winning the Super Bowl this year are pretty slim. I keep hoping, but it's pretty slim. But I could tell you, I could say, well, when I say they're one of the best NFL teams in the NFL, I would simply say they've won the most Super Bowls in the NFL. So I got to design my experiment to make sure you understand what I mean when I say that the Dallas Cowboys are one of the best teams in the NFL. And then we have to go through and we have to do the experiment. And you do your experiment based on that design. So my design would be, I would look up all the who's won the Super Bowl the most in NFL history, and then I would, based on that, that would tell me who has been the best Super Bowl the best football teams in the NFL. So I got to collect my data. So I simply just go out and I look up the information. I ask Mr. Google, and Mr. Google tells me, where the best place to find this information. And then I have to write a conclusion. Yes, we have to write. We have to write a lot in this class. And so conclusion is based on the evidence from your experiment. The evidence from your experiment. And then we tie this information back to your prediction. So we got to make sure that we take this information and tie it back to what your prediction was. We do something in this school called a SIR. What a SIR is claim, evidence, reasoning. So I'm going to write a claim, which is my prediction. I'm going to look for my evidence, and then I'm going to do this reasoning of why is that evidence important to my claim. Now there is something else we end up calling something called a CERT. A CERT is claim, evidence, reasoning, but we have one extra thing to it. We say we tie it together, meaning the reasoning has to get tied back to my claim. So it's not just why is the evidence important, but I got to tie all that information back to my claim. So here's an example of what a CERT looks like, or a SIR looks like in this case, because you can see here it says claim, evidence, reasoning. Okay, so my claim is great football team in the NFL. My evidence, I have to cite a quote from the article that supports your claim. You may use any of the quotes from your questions document here. Reason, explain how the quote answers your claim. So an example would be, Dallas Cowboys are the second best football team in the NFL according to Super Bowl wins. All right? So again, Dallas Cowboys are the second best football team in the NFL according to Super Bowl wins. That's one of the best teams in the NFL. So I go and I look up my evidence, and I find out the Pittsburgh Steelers have won 6, Dallas Cowboys have won 5, 49ers have won 5, and New England Patriots have won 5. So does it really mean they're the second best? Well, they're tied for second best football team in the NFL. And I also listed down here the actual website I found this from. And now this is a quote. This is nothing I've done. This is basically a quote. And now I'm going to go to my reasoning. And my reasoning is, according to Tista, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the most Super Bowl wins with 6, but Dallas Cowboys are tied with San Francisco and New England with 5 Super Bowl wins each. So this part here, this could actually be a quote where you're plagiarizing somebody, or you could write something in your own words. But this has to be your own words, and this has to tie back to, this has to go back to your claim. Explain to me, why is this evidence important, and why did you pick this evidence? I'm going to give us an example today. So as an example today, we have ice and we have liquid water. So what's the difference between these two? One's a solid and one is a liquid. And they're both of water. So the question today, what we're going to do today is we're going to take we got a scale, and on the scale we're going to put a tray, and we're going to put some ice in the tray. And we're going to let this ice melt. And as this ice melts, the question is, does the weight change when the ice changes to a liquid? Does it? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our SIR, and this SIR is found in Google Classroom. And on this SIR it says, claim, which is heavier, solid or liquid water? Now I gave you a sentence starter, and the sentence starter says, I believe that. So you're going to tell me here, you believe what? I believe that water is going to be, ice is going to be heavier than liquid water. Solid or liquid water, which one is going to be heavier? Or are they going to be the same? You need to write that information here. Now, when you see these brackets with green in them, that means you're going to put something there. You're going to print something in there. So you click in between there and you start typing. Evidence. So my evidence is I'm going to weigh the ice and continue to observe as the ice melts and becomes a liquid. So here's my data. My data says the weight of the solid water is what? The weight of the solid the liquid water is. So after it's melted, what does it weigh after it's melted? And then you're going to explain, why do you believe the solid liquid and the liquid water weigh the same or different? And so here you're going to write, my solid and my liquid water weighed the same or different. You delete one of those words. You have to have either the same or you have to have different. I believe it is because, and you're going to explain why you think this weighs the same as this weighs the same or this weighs different than the solid and the liquid. Here's some notes down here. When you write your reasoning for why the weight was different or the same, you get to write your opinion, but it has to make sense from the claim and your evidence. When you write your reasoning, that's this part, you have to write down you can write your opinion, because we don't really know yet. We haven't given that solid information. But it still has to make sense. You can't tell me about unicorns. You can't tell me about flying pigs. You have to tell me about, why do you think that this water weighed differently or the same as a liquid or as a solid? Remember, wherever you see the brackets, highlight in green, you're to write the answer in that space. If you do not like the sentence structure I started, you can delete the sentence frame and write your own sentences. So if you don't like, I believe that, you want to write something different, then you can delete that out and write whatever you want to. It's your sentence. I'm just trying to get you started. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. And so that's where we're going. That's what you have the weights on the scales on your table. You have the trays, and I'm going to bring you the ice around. All right, good luck.